Today's podcast is sponsored by Genesis, the most comprehensive and complete education for pool professionals. The Genesis Career Pathway for Pool Builders and Design Professionals puts your team on the right track to become masters of their trade.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Pool Magazine Podcast. Today I'm chatting with Ben Forrest of PAL Lighting. They're a popular manufacturer of lighting, water features, automation, and controllers for the pool and spa industry. Ben, you and I have been making the rounds this year at all the trade shows, and there always seems to be a line of about a half a dozen guys waiting to talk to you about your product. There's a lot of interest out there with folks in the industry, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to do a little side discussion with us and join us on the show.
Thank you. Oh, you're welcome.
You know, Pool Magazine is read primarily by folks that are in and of the industry, and PAL has been in the U.S. market since around 2004. Is that right?
Yeah, roundabout. That's close enough.
I mean, so unless folks are living under a rock, they should probably know the name by now if they're in the industry, right?
Well, most have heard of it, Joe. A lot of people, because they're just creatures of habit, are doing the same old thing. They probably might have heard of it, but they don't necessarily have a lot of experience with our products.
Well, for the sake of those folks and for any consumers who may be listening, can you give us a little bit of your backstory about who PAL Lighting is, what they do, and what your role in the company is all about?
Sure. So PAL Lighting's not a new kid on the block, even, though we've only been here since, around 2004-ish. We've actually been operating since the mid-'80s, and we first started producing pool lights back in the late 70s and 79. Until COVID happened, most operators within the industry really didn't have much knowledge on PAL Lighting. We were probably best known for our strip lighting, which we've been producing, and we still to this day are the only real, cost-effective manufacturer of strip lighting for swimming pools. When COVID happened, because of light shortages and other product shortages, we didn't experience any of that because our products are manufactured in Australia, not in China. So we didn't have any of the trade sanctions or other challenges, or at least challenges to the same degree that other suppliers did. So a lot of operators were forced to try PAL lights as an alternative to, one of the big three. And when they did, they came back and said, "Wow, where have you been?" And we said, "Well, we've always been here, but no one's been paying really attention at this level." So that's really the backstory and why we've suddenly become a thing. It's not because we've suddenly just arrived. We've been here forever. My role in the company, I look after, sales right across the country, particularly with the larger. So I'm the national sales manager. I look after typically larger national networks and distribution and so forth like that. All of the staff at PAL have a pretty big role in terms of future design and stuff like that. So, that's part of my role. The other part of the role is getting on building sites and educating builders on how to use these, in some cases, new products like the strip lighting and, how they can better light their pool rather than what they've always done.
You were talking a little bit about how builders were encountering difficulties getting their hands on product and how possibly the spotlight had shined on your product again, even though you've been in the industry for quite a while. I mean, have you seen a real big influx of new sales in regards to the pandemic over the last couple of years?
Look, certainly it's hard for us to gauge, Joe, because, our sales have skyrocketed simply because we've had to fill the void, of a couple of the big three. So that's skyrocketed. And that's just an unusual pandemic sort of, thing. For us, where we've seen the real growth that's exciting is in the strip lighting. For the last 4 years, our strip lighting has been more than 1,000% of the sales of the previous year. You do that for 4 years in a row, and suddenly you know that you're getting strip lighting out there, and that's the real growth. I think the other growth that's exciting for us is once we build a relationship with a builder and we go through a few projects with them, and they start to get an understanding of what they can do with our lights that they've never been able to do before. It gives them, room for growth, that instead of putting 4 lights in a swimming pool, they're now putting, I work with builders who are regularly putting 20 or 30 fixtures in their project. but they're going beyond the swimming pool. Now they have tools that they can use to light up gardens and, outdoor kitchen areas, fire pit areas and all sorts of things. So that's the real exciting thing for us.
Yeah, I think I first became aware of PAL lighting a number of years ago on another podcast that I listened to. David Van Brunt's show, the Pool Guy podcast show, did a segment maybe back in May of 2020 on retrofitting even flow lights as a replacement for your older incandescent lights, which really covered a lot of ground from the technician standpoint. Is that a big market segment for you, Ben? I mean, do pool owners, are looking at you to upgrade their system to LED and take advantage of that in their pool to take it to the next level?
Oh, look, it's a huge market over here, and it's a market that really no one's been able to capture either because of the technologies and so forth and some of the things that they're working with. So, I mean, think of all the lights that were installed prior to the late 90s or early 2000s. All of those are incandescent bulbs, so there's a lot of incandescent bulbs. You only need to talk to pool stores and we say, how many incandescent bulbs do you sell? And they say lots. So, we developed a bulb that we can use as a replacement that takes the average pool fixture from a 500 watt incandescent bulb to a 9 watt LED, and you get all the features that you get from a true RGB light, meaning that you get 16 million colors, dimming functions, true white mode, all controlled by a patented sonar remote. And these things are able to be retailed and pool professionals can make good margins, out of our products, but still retail these things for, under $400 with the remote. The big market that's untapped though is probably the problematic part of that market, and that is that for many of those incandescent bulbs, the professionals can't, the pool technician can't get the old cable out, let alone pulling a new cable through. The conduits have been broken or fractured or damaged, squashed, whatever it might be, but the cable's not coming out. So that really limits consumers with what they can do. They can't use any of the new modern complete fixtures because they need to pull a cable with it. So they can't use that. They can put a bulb in there, but if they don't want a bulb, they want a modern light. That's virtually impossible without digging up the yard. The reason we invented this, the way that we actually came to invent this bulb, was trying to invent a sonar remote so that we can tackle the problem of these broken fixtures, and we've done that now. So we now have a full fixture light. You can replace the fixture, you get full features, 16 million colors, you get connectivity, you can be Wi-Fi controlled or anything with an old fixture using the existing 2-wire cable. And that's something that's, that's a month old at PAL. we released these and first showed them in November last year as a prelude, but then at the Carecraft conference just that you and I were at, just a month ago, was the first time we really showcased them. And I think they're going to change the world. Now technicians can go out and say to a client, hey, look, I can fix that light that you've never been able to fix, and I can have it fixed in under an hour using a field assembly cable and have a brand new light in there. And that's amazing.
Well, you were speaking to, how many people come into a store looking for incandescent pool bulbs and how often those wear out. I mean, what's the shelf life on PAL lighting as opposed to, your traditional incandescent bulbs? And, what's the energy savings for the consumer?
Well, if we replaced a bulb with our bulb, it's a 9 watt bulb, and that's about as bright as we can make it and still get it inside the fixture. If we replace that fixture though with that style of our sonar fixture that just attaches to the 2-wire, that takes it to a 30 watt output, which is much brighter than a 500 watt bulb, and yet still just 30 watts, Joe.
Right.
And a technician, as I said, can get those into a pool for around about $1,200 maybe install, in under an hour now. Wow. So that just gives all the technicians across the country, if they all collectively thought about how many lights that they could now approach their clients with, that they've always had to say no until you're ready to dig up your yard and there's nothing we can do. Right. Well, now that can be fixed,
Right. Well, I guess the biggest concern then is just retrofitting. I mean, pool builders and consumers have lots of different options to choose from when they're selecting a lighting system for their pool. I mean, your product is a premium product. I mean, from a consumer standpoint, if you had a 10 seconds or 15 seconds to give them an elevator pitch, on the value proposition of adding PAL lighting to your pool, I mean, what would you say? I mean, you got a minute with somebody. What do you say to them?
So we produce a range of lighting that can be connected and controlled by pretty much anything. Okay, so it gives consumers the ability to integrate it with any of the big three automation, but similarly, it can be integrated into high-end home automation, which nothing's ever been able to do before. Being four wire, it also allows for future expansion and integration with DMX systems so that you can synchronize the lights to music and other DMX water features, which really haven't made their way into the pool industry because really the technology platform the pool industry has been using doesn't support it.
Absolutely.
So the real beauty of the lights is being four wire lights. They last typically 2 to 3 times as long as 2 wire lights do. Our lights in particular run cold, so they can be used above and below water also, meaning that you can use our lights in areas that you've never been able to light before. So that's the elevator pitch, I guess, Joe. I could talk for hours.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I mean, from an automation standpoint, just to hit on that one point that you hit on. I mean, many pool pros have concerns that upgrading to a new system won't be possible with their existing automation technology. How is PAL lighting ahead of the curve in that regard?
Well, we'd love to take the credit and say that we're ahead of the curve. Really, what we're doing is we're bringing the same technology platform that the rest of the world has been using for more than 20 years to the pool industry. Okay. And what that means is now there's a range of lights that can integrate with all the other stuff that's going on in the world, whereas the products in the pool industry have never really been able to. Okay, so whether that means you just want to control it, or whether, and just turn them on and off through your pen test system, or whether it means you want to be able to create 6 or 8 lighting zones in your backyard that are controlled by your home automation system, such as a Lutron system or your Control4s, we can do all of that. If you want to really push the boundaries and then get a DMX controller from Amazon and give it to your kid, and your 12-year-old works out how to program light shows in half an hour, and you want to build a light show to your favorite football team to the to the team's song because they're in the Super Bowl next year, well, you can do that with our lights. And that's really the objective of the 4-wire technology. It gives us a lot more ability. Our lights change colors instantly. There's no 5 seconds of darkness. Dimming is standard. These are all just accepted parts of commercial lighting, and they should be accepted in the pool industry as normal too, or as standard, but they're not. In many cases, they're just not even available. Dimming and 16 million instant color changes is something the pool industry is yet to experience.
I mean, I know you touched on DMX for a sec. I mean, one of the features that we did in Pool Magazine was with Ryan Hughes, who I know personally is a huge proponent of your product. I know you're familiar with the products that were used on that particular project, and the photos are in a lot of your own marketing material. I was hoping that maybe you could take a deep dive with us and tell us about some of the components that were used in that particular project.
We've got a range of products, and this is, I guess, probably the thing that surprises most. We've got bubblers. Probably the only thing we don't actually have is a laminar. So we've got waterfalls, the shear descents, rainwater curtains. We've got bubblers. We've got deck jets coming. We've got scupper lights. We've got a range of different drivers. We've got a range of garden lights at the moment. We're redeveloping, and we're probably going to launch that later this year. And it'll be quite an extensive range with control systems that also integrate into the pool lighting. So we also have automation systems, Joe. We've touched and danced around automation a little bit. We have some fantastic entry-level automation systems that we sell tens of thousands of, particularly to entry-level builders who are helping someone upgrade from a toggle switch light control and an Intermatic transformer, Intermatic timer that turns their pool pump on each day, to giving them automation, through their smartphone app for, under $1,000. The pool professionals are buying that for under $700. So, we've got a lot of stuff that's quite high end and also gives them that forward compatibility, I think is probably the big thing. That's what we're all about. Don't buy a product now today and then have to replace it in 2 years' time because new technology. Buy a product that can be expanded on. I guess the big thing that you'll notice, particularly, and the owner of the company and I had the privilege of spending a day with one of Ryan's team, touring a few of his pools just earlier this year while we're over in Florida, and they are amazing. The big thing with lighting, okay, and Ryan uses it. There's a lot of other designers right across the country that are using it. It's not new, but it's the multiple zone thing, okay. Rather than just turning your pool lights on and turning, maybe your spa light on and having 2 zones, we've got an 8-zone driver coming out next month that's really going to help us create, that real sort of ambience across the entire yard rather than just the pool, and that's what we're looking at, and when you look at Ryan's projects, it's not just a swimming pool, it's the whole backyard that he's done, and that might extend to kitchens and, and fire pits and all sorts of things. We use our strip a lot in under step lighting. So, by having lighting throughout the backyard that's all controlled through one system, that you can set the moods by dimming some areas down and just brightening up the areas that you're entertaining in or that you're using at the time. But while all the other lights across the yard are still on, just dim down, it really helps people take their backyard to a whole new level. It was only 10, 15 years ago, we were still putting 2 big 12-inch pool lights in a pool and saying that's a really well-lit pool. That's not a really well-lit pool.
For sure. I mean, I think it's like cohesive, universal, and easy to control use that people are looking for over their entire outdoor living environment. And I think you have a wide range of products that really fit what consumers are looking for nowadays.
Yeah, we've got some really cool stuff coming out too. I mean, you saw a business just recently that we're working closely alongside and partnering with a new automation system that's going to change the face of the industry. So this is Poolside Tech. And their product called the Attendant. We're doing a lot of testing with them. I mean, we'd like to help them sort of, not just launch it here in the US, but we can help them take it over to the Europe markets and the Australian markets. But I mean, these are a bunch of guys who aren't from the industry, but very technical and following same philosophy that we are, and that is using the current standards of the outside world and bringing them to the pool industry. And as a result, we're able to provide them with a lot more features and a lot more control options than people have ever experienced, And I mean, if we give you a little 30-second grab on this, imagine an automation system where you can plug in any brand of pump, blower, heater, doesn't matter, You can use any brand of valve actuator, any brand of chlorine generator, ozone, injector, whatever, ORP, chlorine probe, testing equipment, whatever devices that you want, you can just plug straight in and control, and through ports, not through relays in most cases.
So it makes that product agnostic platform that people have been looking for a long time.
Yeah, self-diagnosis. I mean, at the moment, sort of, they've asked us and said, hey, can you provide self-diagnosis tools within your lights? And that's what we're working on at the moment. So this system could send us an email and say, hey, listen, you need to go to Mrs. Jones' place and take a Trio Micro, with a 150-foot cable, light number 5 is out. It's just, that sounds like science fiction, really, when we talk about it, when we compare it with what's available in the pool industry at the moment. But it's not. It's available now. We've got working models. We've got hundreds of working models across the country right as we speak of this. So it's at the moment, I know that they're talking, because their system also is DMX compatible. I know that they're talking to, I won't mention names at the moment, but one of the worldwide, music feeds, so that they can just feed that straight into your pool automation system. And, the DMX system will then synchronize all the lights and features that are going to the beat of that music that's going through the system. I mean, that's not far away. That's probably less than a year away. Wow. So there's some really exciting stuff. I mean, I say to people when they first talk to me, because they scratch their heads when I start telling them about our lights, because they can't figure out why they haven't come across them before and why they haven't used them. And I said, well, have you ever wondered why the Bellagio, the Bellagio fountain that everyone knows, have you ever wondered why you've never seen that in a pool? You've never seen it from a manufacturer. There's no product supplier that can provide that sort of equipment and help a pool professional set up a fountain or a water feature similar to Bellagio. Well, the answer is because we're all using the wrong technology platform. It's as simple as that. The whole industry is using the wrong technology platform. And that's why we don't have all the cool tools that the rest of the world just take for granted. So
I think a lot of homeowners are familiar with that. I mean, just by traveling, seeing different resorts around the world, a lot of homeowners start dream building and getting ideas for their own backyard. And that kind of synchronicity between the lighting and their music and the way that they entertain is what they're looking for in their backyard, wouldn't you say?
absolutely, absolutely. And people pay for it, Joe. When builders first start working with us because they have someone that's inquired about strip, and this is typically how our relationship with most of our clients start, that they come across me and they say, hey, someone told me I've got to ring you. I've got a client who's interested in strip lighting, and I understand that you guys are the ones that do that. So, yeah. So we get to talking. And as we go through it, they go, how come I haven't used this before? I go, I don't know. I don't know. Why haven't you used it? It's the features that you get from this new technology are just amazing. But more than that, we make life easier for everyone. It's a really sad state of affairs, and I'm going to talk about lighting now, that almost the first question that everyone asks me is, where are your warranty stations? Can I be a warranty station? I'm going, yeah, sure. Our warranty failure rate currently in North America is 0.2%. I hope you're not planning on actually making that a big income stream for yourself, I say to them. Wow. So, and no one makes money out of warranty, Joe. No one, the industry never has. And manufacturers can't afford for pool professionals to make money out of warranty. It's just a service we offer. Unfortunately, it's a service that we get called on far too often in pool lighting. We shouldn't have the failures that we do.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of failures. I know some guys were suffering a couple of years back with nicheless lights in particular, that were failing, and it was during the height of their season. So, detracting away from their new pool construction to fix a lot of failures was definitely a thorn in everybody's side that season for sure.
It is. It's time consuming. I mean, when you've got better things to do, you really don't want to have to be dealing with a lot of warranties.
Absolutely.
You just don't. And look, that's not me picking on the big three or putting them down in any way. It's the technology platform that's the problem. That's why the rest of the commercial lighting world phased out the 2-wire LED lighting back in the 90s. There's no way to make it reliable.
Well, for a homeowner who's thinking about installing these lights or upgrading their lighting system, I mean, you touched a little bit on the price points before, but let's talk about it again. What's the price point for the equipment? And based off your knowledge of working with installers across our country, what is the price for installation typically?
Well, the price for installation is typically no different for a new installation, okay, than it is for any other pool light. You still have to pull one of our cables because our cables are 4-wire cables. So they still have to pull it. Our cables do detach from the light. So in future, if they ever have to replace the light, they don't ever have to replace cables again. They can just unscrew the light from the cable and screw the new one on. The cost of the lights is typically around about 10 to 15% less than the big three. And it depends on which lights you're looking at, and also depends on what your relationship is with your distributor or whoever you're sourcing the products through, of course. But typically it's about 10 to 15%. There are two leading factors why the world phased out 2-wire lighting, and that is, number one, it's very expensive to produce. The number two is it's unreliable. So I mean, our lights are 10 to 15% cheaper. That's significant. It's not incredible, but we use very high quality LEDs, which is why our lights can also work above water. So they don't run hot, they run cold. And that gives us a lot more latitude then for how we can use them, but also, it sort of removes any sort of warranty issues, relating to overheating. We've tackled that. There's no overheating in our lights.
Well, I know trade show season's over for the year, but Las Vegas is coming up, and it may be the first real time that we're all back together in full force. COVID-19 restrictions are ending by the day. I mean, everybody's going back to work. Things kind of getting back to normal. Vegas really brings out the entire industry. I mean, are you going to be in attendance and presenting there?
We'll be there. We'll be there for sure. I'm hoping that we're going to have a working living display, DMX display to take along, Joe, so that the industry can see not just lights that are synchronized with DMX, but also maybe some DMX fountain pumps that can do some amazing tricks too, like firing balls of water around to create collisions, as part of the show.
It's really impressive what you guys can do with that technology. And if you bring it to Vegas, I'm guaranteeing that you're going to have them lined up at least 24 deep in front of your booth.
Yeah, I hope so. Last year in November was hard to manage, actually. It really was. I've never seen anything like it. So, but it's exciting. I mean, lighting's the one thing that consumers want. It's one thing that they can see and really get a sense of value out of after a project's completed. So, builders are shocked when they get their first job, they're usually surprised at how much people are willing to spend. They go in with one of our quotes, assuming that it's going to get cut in half, and the clients go, "Yep." So I had a builder from Alabama only a few weeks ago who rang at the last minute wanting a 4-foot strip. We talked to her about the plan. We marked up a plan. She took that plan to the client, and she'll be purchasing more than $20,000 worth of lighting for this pool. Now, I would imagine that she's put at least 3 times that value on top of the project just for the lighting.
Right. Because the lighting is a smaller component of the entire pool. I mean, it's what, a percentage of it.
That's right. So, like, people will pay when they can see strip lighting and they can see professional sort of imaging. I know we're working with Structure Studio with their studio plans that have come out early last year with the strip lighting. More and more builders are now starting to put it into their visual plans or their 3D renders.
I've seen that.
So, yeah, it's just going great guns, and unlike the old fiber optics, this stuff actually works, it works and it looks good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like the look of the lighting. I know that it's very exciting for, builders to have more options out there in the market. And, a little competition is good for everybody, wouldn't you say?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's what pushes the industry forward.
Absolutely. So, well, I appreciate you getting together with me, Ben, to talk shop. And thanks for stopping by to chat with us about PAL Lighting. If anybody has any questions, where's a good place to reach out to you, Ben?
Probably the easiest way is just either through our website or they can email me direct, ben@pallighting.com.
Terrific. Thanks so much, Ben.
No sweat. Thanks, Joe.
A big thank you to our sponsor, Genesis, the leading education program for pool builders and design professionals. Genesis and the PHTA are creating better career pathways for builders to become masters of their trade. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on another episode of Pool Magazine Podcast.